Hey guys, welcome back to the Fulco. I'm going to have a quick look through last night's game. Very odd kickoff time. So Southampton against Tottenham. The Tottenham Hotspur Southampton El Sackico, as it turns out now after two occasions. There's, it's one of those where it's almost like it was a good performance and, a great result. And it almost felt like, well, do I really need to do a video looking through and doing a bit of analysis? But I do think it's worth doing, because otherwise you're just picking apart the things that are not going well rather than looking at what's really working when it is going well. So that's the kind of angle that I'm going to come at this from. So it was one of those games where we started like our hair was on fire. And that's always a good sign, or at the very least as a fan, when you're watching a game, you feel better if your team starts off hot and, really comes out of the blocks, because it gives you that energy and momentum as well. You have that build up to the whistle blowing for the game to start, and players really come flying out, and that adds to it for you. We did really well, and for everybody that wants a Jed Spence redemption arc, we absolutely had it, right? So he's involved in the play as the ball, we try to play forward immediately from kickoff, but actually the ball goes back and we work it. We do, to a certain extent, draw Southampton out, but actually we don't really play around Southampton, we play straight through. And this is what Spence did really well. Is the key to the move is obviously he receives the ball with his back to goal with a player in tight on him, and a really nice turn. So he manages to get his body in the way, he manages to get the ball round the corner, and then he's in and away, and he's got that physicality and he's got that pace. And then he shows great technical ability as well, because he plays a lovely ball with the outside of his right foot. We're currently only about 30 seconds into the game. The ball is absolutely perfect in between the centre halves, and James Maddison has committed to and made that run. So he's got in there as well, which is, again, great to see in the early stages of the game to really commit to that. And Maddison, he's got a finish. The keeper comes out and it's a good finish. He slides to finish. The keeper does get a piece of it, but he slides to finish past the keeper, probably off the keeper's thigh and into the net. So we're, 30 something seconds into the game and we're 1-0 up. And, at that point, we are in a very, very comfortable position. So whatever Southampton tried to do from there on in, whatever game plan they had and whatever they're going to try to achieve in that game, almost gets blown out of the water by scoring that early and by getting a goal on the board. So it's so important that when you do get chances like that and you do get opportunities, it doesn't really matter when they come in a game. It's almost like, is it a bit rude to score that early on? It's not really cricket to score an early goal. That's absolutely not the case. And I think the manager referenced it in one of his interviews where he talks about we've had chances in games recently and we've not taken them, really early chances. So great to see us be that committed, that direct, and take that early chance, because it changes the entire psychology of the game. Now, if we'd have been playing, a top tier team, you start to get that nervousness about, we've angered the beast and now there's going to be a backlash, but it doesn't really matter. It can destabilize. And so great to see that we made that opportunity, and that came from the bravery of Spence to receive the ball and turn, and then the quality to deliver that pass and Maddison to finish. And Maddison, obviously, he had a field day in this game. He was fantastic, but Jed Spence rightly is going to get a lot of plaudits for his role, and him having not played any football really, getting on the pitch and doing such a good job playing on both sides of the defence as well. So fantastic start. Tottenham 1-0 up, and then it just keeps getting better from there. So Southampton, in fairness, are, they're a mess, and they made this game really, really easy for us. It's a really good matchup for us in terms of styles, and they want to play in a similar attacking way to us, not the same tactical system, but in a similar attacking way, playing the ball out from the back. Not a million miles away from the way Brighton play, but they don't have the personnel to do it. And they also looked off it from a physical and a commitment point of view, and whether that's the players no longer buying into what the manager was doing, or whether it was just us being really, really good and on the front foot. It's hard to say, but the gaps were huge. The second goal was an example of what we did earlier in the season, but we've not done a great deal since, was the inverted fullback role, playing in that midfield, and then us being able to get round. There was only one midfielder coming into press, which is a mistake in that situation, but we managed to get the ball round that midfield press and then in for Maddison on that right-hand side. So he was popping up all over the place, having a field day as a very free-roaming kind of number 10. And it was Jed Spence again, I think, who was in that inverted role. So they were able to play a little 1-2 round the player far, far too easy. You'd be furious with that if you were the opposition manager. But it doesn't matter. We were brave, we played, we had our tails up. And then with that, the power of that inverted fullback is the additional member in midfield. So everybody else is pinning somebody or keeping somebody or taking them away with a run. And that leads to that overload that you want to create. And it's why that system is set up the way it is. We get round that player. And when you do get round that player, you are going to be running into space. You're going to have loads and loads of time. Maddison did. He decides to whip a ball early, which is not always what we do, but he goes for an early whip ball with, I think, only Solanke probably running straight towards the penalty spot. Bednarek then gets a little flick header on it. He doesn't want to let that ball drop in behind him because it would have been a really dangerous ball in behind the defensive line. The ball falls to the far post where Son's not picked up. Kyle Walker-Peters is tucked in, and he's able to nice controlled finish. So left side foot, doesn't try to take the paint off the ball. He just puts a firm surface behind it, and it goes in under the keeper. And we're 2-0 up, and at that point we are sailing, and Southampton are in disarray. They're really all over the place at that stage. In Ange fashion, in the way that he wants his teams to play, we did not take our foot off the accelerator, and that's great to see, because it would be very, very easy to 2-0 up away from home to say, okay, we're just going to take a breath, we're all tired, we've got lots of games, etc. We'll take a breath. We didn't do that. We kept probing, we kept looking for opportunities, and Southampton were willing to oblige us. The third goal was Maddison dropping back into the pocket. So we played the ball around a little bit, and then Maddison drops into the quarterback position, that kind of like almost left back area, really, really deep, just in front of his defensive line. He's got a really, really simple ball, a huge pocket of space in behind Walker-Peters to float a ball. Southampton had come up, they play that high line, they bring their line up, and he's floated a ball into that space, and Son runs onto it. He's got a really nice, he shapes a really nice cross where he decides to whip one with plenty of bend. Solanke makes the move across the defender. He does actually get the first contact, and it's really, really good defending. So really unfortunate for them. The defender, I think, manages to get across him sliding and kind of get his heel to it and stop it. But the ball, as things happen when things aren't going for you, the ball falls to Decky, who'd made the secondary run, and he just pulled out slightly, and the ball falls nicely for him, and he's able to tuck that ball in. Really, really simple, but nicely executed. Beautiful pass, lovely shaped cross from Son. Solanke makes the move like he did for his goal in midweek, and then we get the run of it. So we get the first contact, and then the ball falls to us, and we get the finish. So Decky continues his fantastic goal scoring form. And he was again very good. Lost possession a couple of times, but otherwise Decky doing Decky things, and him not being the standout player is a really good sign, because it meant that other players had stepped up in this game, which is good to see. Fourth goal, I mean, when things are going against you, they're really going against you. You could argue that Udogie is too strong for Kyle Walker-Peters, and it's a bit of a reminder. There was a couple of times where Walker-Peters was physically outmuscled by both Jed Spence and by Udogie during the game, and you would argue that's the upgrade, right? That's what we were looking to do. But I think for that fourth goal, you'd be pretty annoyed with that. Your doggy doesn't get any contact on the ball until Walker Peters is basically on the floor, and then he's grabbing at him to try and stop him. So probably a bit fortunate to get away without conceding a free kick, but absolutely fine to put that level of pressure because the player's going the wrong way. And even a set piece, if it was a free kick, I don't think that's a particularly dangerous set piece to give. It's not that close to the goal on the touchline. So probably the right decision for Udogie to really press the player. He presses him, we get the rub of the green. He gets away, delivers it to Son. Son comes inside. And this is what you've got when you've got a player the quality of Son, and what he's done in the past is defenders will overcommit to stop him bending that ball with his right foot because he's so good at it. So they will overcommit to that, meaning that his passing options are better. He had a very simple pass across, and then you've got the late run from Pat Sarr. So that is something that you can work on in training, but it was just a situation that presented itself, and the players at that moment took it. So if you've got a ball running flat across with a player running onto it, you can break through the line, which is exactly what happened, because you can see the Southampton fullback, he's just about to head out, or I think he does start heading out because he thinks the ball's going wider. And as he's moving that way, Papsar's moving onto the ball, and he's able to step clean onto it through the line, and he's at the back line, and then really nice feet, nice tight control in there to just cut inside the defender, and then gets onto his left foot and manages to bend it home. So really nicely done. Great to have Pap on the score sheet again, so he continues to add to his goal scoring. And again, when he's in those positions, he's inside the box, he is okay. He's a good finisher. It's just when he's outside the box and he tries to go for those huge bombs, they don't seem to land, except for that beautiful one that he whipped inside the near post. But we absolutely flying, tails up. Southampton have effectively given up by this point, and we're running rampant. But really nicely executed goal and great feet as well. So it's lovely to see that from Sarr. And then we round it off and effectively kill the game right at the death at the end of the first half. It's worth saying that just before we actually got that fifth goal, Son, and I think he likes it. I think he likes playing against fullbacks that he would have trained against a lot. He knows them off by heart. He did this against Trippier. He did this against Cole Walker-Peters. He will throw a step over, he will beat them, and he'll get a shot away. So before we go to the fifth goal, he actually had a chance where he, lovely step, lovely quick feet, shifts the ball onto his left. Walker-Peters is that half step away. And it was a good save at his near post from the keeper. So really nice from Son. And then we have the fifth goal. Son is in a slightly deeper position, and he plays a lovely outside of the foot pass. When he first played it, it looked like he'd overcooked it a little bit, but Maddison really committed. He's making that run from midfield, those underlapping runs that Tottenham love to play and to have. And then super feet. And we've seen this quite a lot. We've seen this throughout Ange's time. They clearly work on this, is when you get into that position running towards the byline, you don't kind of panic and just smash it blindly flat across. So we see a lot of players getting to the byline, particularly on the left-hand side actually, but it happens on both sides, and they will chop the ball back. And my reading of it is that the options that are open to you, if you can do that, are defenders coming flying into you. If a defender overcommits, they're gonna cut you down and you're gonna get a penalty. And if you're able to do it and you're able to put the brakes on, then you're going to be looking at the entirety of the penalty area. So you can have a really good view of where your passing options are, your cutback options towards the penalty spot or anywhere else, lofting the ball or hitting it low and hard, or maybe just turning back inside and trying to have a go yourself. So I think it's something they work on. I think it's something they do a lot. And they work on those kind of over and underlapping runs and the little triangular rotations in those areas to try and get to that point. But Maddison, wonderful feet. And then the finish, it's a stunning finish. It's an absolutely wonderful finish. But what I will say is that the mechanics of Maddison, when he turns back in, he starts falling away. He starts falling to his left. And because he's falling to his left, the mechanics of actually the way he kind of swipes upward with his side foot is what gets that incredible kind of flat finish right across the face of goal with just enough angle on it that it's moving into the goal instead of, going flat and, away for a throw on. But yeah, the mechanics of him falling helps him with that, but he still has to have the composure and the technique to do it, and he does, and it flies into the side netting. Absolutely wonderful. Delighted to see it, and obviously 5-0. Even Tottenham, could you throw that away? Tottenham probably could. Against another team, Tottenham could throw that away, but you felt, right, if we do this properly, this game is done. Now, I'm sure there was a lot of people who thought at half-time, right, let's go on and score 10. My personal feeling at 3-0 was, can we start getting players off the pitch? Can we get Solanke off? Can we get Son off? But Ange started to make changes at half-time. And yeah, we wanted to rest as many players with kind of the big games of Man U and Liverpool coming up as we could, and doing that kind of thing in the first half, and credit to the team for putting in that kind of performance. Doing that allowed us that comfort to really take our foot off the gas in the second half. So we started to make changes. Son obviously came off at half, which he looked pretty tired at the end of the first half, and that was the right thing to do. I personally maybe would have liked to see Lancashire a bit earlier for Solanke, but the manager will make his decisions, and not always seeing eye to eye on how much rest players are getting. But in the second half, I've seen some criticism of Tottenham in terms of the second half. That's poor, and we should have dominated. We did. We were in control. The second half, it wasn't a second half where you felt that Southampton came flying out and Tottenham were really, on the back foot and hanging in there. I felt it was a nice, controlled performance. Good from all the players that needed to be good to control a game. It's something we've not really shown an ability to do. We've shown we can blow teams off the park, but we've not shown elements of control in our game. That's not. It's maybe not in the system and the ethos, but it's something we're going to have to learn if we are going to be a successful team. If you're going to be a successful team, yes, you can blow teams off the park, and then you have to manage games through control. So if you're not going to manage through pragmatism, you have to manage by controlling and managing the game. So managing where and how the opposition has possession, and also managing it when you have possession and what you're doing with it. So I thought we were very good in the second half. Papsar had an excellent game. He was far more energetic and, nipping in and nicking balls off players left, right and centre. Southampton obviously weren't playing particularly well, but he was doing a fantastic job in there, and it's incredible how much work he can get through. And yeah, it's very pleasing to go through that second half with control, making a few chances, really limiting Southampton to very, very little. If I'm going to be hypercritical, Porro comes on, and there's a couple of occasions where he struggled. Carl Walker-Peters had him on toast and whipped one into the side netting. There was another one later on in the game, annoying. He gets, physically out-muscled and goes sprawling on the floor, complaining, and it's not a foul. And Southampton have the ball. So, it's a bit my pet peeve at the minute. I think Pedro's having a hard time, and I'd like to see as much of Jed as possible for a while, and as little as of Pedro, so he can, find his feet again. But again, these are small details. Berrival, again, really good to see him get through a body of work in the Premier League now. And even though he did give the ball away a couple of times, there's still that youthful enthusiasm where he's maybe trying to do a little bit too much in some situations and giving the ball away. And a couple of times he kind of like overran the ball and got it taken off him. But in the round, he was very good, and you can see it now. You can start to see he's getting it, he's putting it together. The performances are coming, and he will get better. And if we're expecting, the world of him in this city, it's not going to happen this year. It might not even happen next year, but it's really, really good to see him getting good quality minutes and starting to improve after what was a shaky start to the season, which is completely understandable for such a young player. Archie Gray, fantastic. He looks like a veteran he really has got something special. So if he can come into that number 6 role and he can continue to develop and play the way he has been, I mean, yeah, absolutely wonderful. Great potential. No great issues at the back. Forster did okay. Not much to do, to be fair to him, but good for him. I think he played for Southampton. Yeah, so going back there. But yeah, he was fine, and kept the ball moving on the occasions that he needed to. And yeah, it was great to see, great to rest players, and good to get out of there with a positive result. Such a positive result, and obviously in the interim, in the intervening time, Russell Martin's lost his job. So it is indeed El Sackico, this South Coast Tottenham game. If you take the Conte rant game and then the fact that he never came back. So yeah, all good. We look forward to the weekend. We look forward to midweek and the Man United game. This is obviously a huge game for our season. If we manage to get the result and move forward, then the entire end of 2024 can be a much more positive place for us. If we don't and we go crashing out the cup, especially with Man U having won the Manchester derby on the weekend, it puts a bit more of that negativity, and it's more of that inconsistency. Really good result followed by a negative one. So let's see what we can do. We've seen Forest go to Man U and beat them just a few days ago, and so they're up and down at the minute. Let's go there. Let's go. Let's play that game. Let's get a positive result. Let's go through to the next round so we can really take this this positive vibe through to the end of the season. And it doesn't really matter what we do against Liverpool. Liverpool are streets ahead of where we are. Put on a performance, let the result be what it will be. But let's get this Man U game over the line. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that. And hopefully enough rest went through the players that need it. And Udogie, it sounds like, and for everybody that criticises the Tottenham medical team, it sounds like Udogie wanted to play on. It's nothing serious. But the medical team made the decision to get him off the pitch. So for everybody that talks about the medical team, just throwing injured players out there, that's the evidence to the contrary. So, yeah, let's look forward to Man United. Such a big game. I'm nervous already, and we've barely even finished our last game, but that's the nature of it. So have a great week, everyone, and let's see what we can do. Come on, Tottenham.